Hi, everyone, and welcome. Father Lamb here, and it's Wednesday, September 25th. So I want to thank everyone who helped out with our garage sale. Thank everyone who brought your your wonderful items over. It was amazing how much stuff was in our social hall. Amazing. In fact, we didn't have room for clothes this year to sell clothes, and all the clothes are in the, the rectory garage right now, waiting to go to the Salvation Army. I mean, just a whole lot of stuff. And thank you. And thank you for all the workers. Thank you for all you participated, all the you bought things and made it a successful fundraiser. I'm grateful. But it does make you realize we really are a consumer culture, aren't we? And I don't say that to make anybody feel guilty. There's nothing wrong with having some stuff, right? Having nice things. I don't think we have to feel guilty about that. But I think what can happen in our lives so easily in a consumer culture is that we buy stuff sometimes as a God substitute, that we have that emptiness inside, and so we get more stuff. I remember George Carlin had a little thing on that years ago, the comedian, and he'd talk about bringing our stuff, from Europe over to America. And we asked, we ended up on the shores, like the Eastern Shore, and we had these ships full of stuff. And we asked the Indians, kind of move over, will you? And bring in this stuff, bring in this stuff. Hey, would you move over some more? We pushed the Indians completely across the country, bringing in our own stuff, And he had a funny way of saying things like that. But we have a lot of stuff. Jesus Christ, I believe, doesn't really care, what we own that way. He really cares and wants our hearts. And sometimes we got to get to the heart of it. Because, if I've said many, many times in these videos and whatnot, we all have an empty hole in the soul as a result of original sin. And sometimes we try to fill it with stuff because there's an emptiness there that's uncomfortable. But it really needs to be filled with God. So it's okay to have our stuff, but the deeper thing is, do I have a relationship, a real, loving, living, practical relationship with Jesus Christ? That's the bottom line for our lives, to get into having a relationship with Christ and being faithful to Him no matter what. So instead of feeding ourselves that emptiness stuff and buy this and buy that and overachieve and get more money and do this and do that, at a certain point we got to stop all that and invite Jesus into that emptiness. And that's when the spiritual life begins. I'm feeling empty, but only God can fill me. And certainly He fills us through the love of other people, but ultimately it's God that we need at the center of our lives. So maybe that's the question this morning, is to ask ourselves, is God at the center of my life? And that is a struggle we have each and every day of our lives, to get Jesus to the center. We have this relationship with God, like we have a relationship with people. I think the deeper issue is really trusting Him. The word faith comes from the Latin fides, which can be translated as trust. Now, we believe there's a God. I believe there's a God. Someone created all this. But to get into something deeper, into an interpersonal relationship with this someone who made everything, that's when you get into a deep relationship of faith that enters into trust. Do I really trust God? And that's hard sometimes. It's easy to trust God when things are going well and everybody's healthy and everything's going well. Yay, God's good. I really trust God. But what about things aren't going well? What about when your loved ones are getting sick? What about when a loved one dies? What about when you lose your job? What about when something happens to your children? What about when your grandparent dies? It's hard. Life's hard. And being a faithful follower of Christ means to say yes to Jesus in the good times and in the bad, just like a marriage, It really is a covenant relationship that we have with God. So sometimes we're joyful and life is wonderful. Thank you, Jesus. And that gives us the energy to go on. And other times, everything seems to be going wrong. Everybody seems to be hurting and dying. It's a chaotic world. And we find ourselves in the Garden of Gethsemane with Jesus saying to the Father, take this cup from me. Life is too hard. But that keeps us in a relationship with God. To be in a trust, real relationship with God means saying yes to God no matter what. Things are wonderful, things are horrible, things are boring. Yes, I'm going to follow Jesus Christ. And that's what obedience is to God. And we're not good with obedience in our culture. We want to do what we want to do when we want to do it. And that's a selfishness that's in each and every one of us that we need to confront. So maybe this week, trying to keep this simple, let's let go of the stuff of life. What's the stuff in my life that's keeping me from a relationship with God? And am I allowing God to be the center of my life? Allow God to fill me. And each day that we wake up, to say yes to God no matter what we're going through. You're having a wonderful day and everything's wonderful. Yes, God, I am going to be faithful to you. Everything seems to be going wrong and everybody seems to be sick and suffering and everything's chaotic. I'm going to say yes to God. That God is the constant in a constantly changing world. And so we can say from the depths of our heart, Jesus, I trust in you.